Professor Puente, and this is gonna be your module for this week. I am in my actual study room. This is where I study in the house, as you can see all my notes behind me. And some of you guys wanted to know I was able to pass my oral exam and move on to the next step of my program, which will hopefully conclude in hopefully about 4 to 3 years. Hopefully 3 years, and I may become a PhD. But that's always up in the air because I gotta study, right? But anyways, to concentrate on what you guys are doing, and we're beginning with Objective 21. And to this week, actually, I don't have a guest lecturer with me in your class, so it's just gonna be me. But over here, you'll see it's Objective 21: overcoming obstacles to critical thinking. Avoid egocentric thinking. And remember, I'm going to make the quiz about the video, not necessarily the text. So you want to get through this lecture, guys. It's only going to be about 20 minutes long. Maybe close to that, maybe even a little less since I don't have a guest lecturer. But I'll tell you this, I actually lecture a 2-hour class, so you guys are super fine, right? That's what I did yesterday. So first of all, avoid egocentric thinking. Being egocentric means that seeing the world from your own point of view. I have to get you guys to realize a pyramid, okay? And I'll go here and probably show you what a pyramid looks like, because you guys know what a pyramid looks like, but I have to explain it to you. If you look at a pyramid, this is a perfect example, okay? And you will see that a pyramid from the top looks like a square. From this side, it looks like a triangle. But from the bottom, it actually still looks like a square. It just doesn't have the lines going through it. Okay? A pyramid is a perfect example, a shape to show people point of view. It absolutely is. Because you may see things from this angle and you'll see a triangle. Heck, you might see it from the corner here, right? And you see 2 triangles. Or you may see it from the top and see a square with crosses on it. Or you may see from the absolute bottom and just see a straight square. It depends from your angle. So you may not see something. You may think you're seeing something, and it's not even the way other people see. So this is why people say, avoid egocentric thinking. Avoid that you're in the middle of the universe. Because then you won't be able to see the other angles. So if there's an issue, try to see the other side, right? Maybe the other side of the square or pyramid. Number 2, be aware of social conditioning. This is incredibly important, guys. Encourage you to accept beliefs, tradition, and values of your social group. There is a social conditioning that happens when you're born. Straight when you're born, you go through it. It's called nurturing. Many people don't even know if that's how real is nurturing. Do you think that a smile is good just because people have been telling you, or do you believe that by nature's aspect, a smile is actually good? I'll tell you, just depends on who you talk to and again, the angles. But realize that social conditioning is a real thing, an absolute real thing. If not, you need to go ahead and ask a mom what a pumpkin patch is. Because I'll tell you this, we have never been to a pumpkin patch before we had a kid. And now that we have a kid, we go to all kinds of pumpkin patches. And you can see them all over Facebook, right? Social conditioning. Now, social conditioning is not a bad thing. It's just we have to be aware that it exists. So, identify outliers. Past experience with other people, places, situations that are extremely good or bad are outliers. Outliers are extremes, okay? Let me tell you, some people will tell you that the bad thing in the world is, the bad thing in the world could be the Islamic terrorist out in Syria, right? ISIS. But the truth is that the ISIS and someone that burns a Quran in Florida are probably very much connected in the fact that they're outliers. They're extremists. And it could be something else. It could be the people that are into Atkins diets. And you cannot eat one little piece of carbohydrates. It's an outlier. Again, it's extremes. People going to the absolute very extreme. These are the issues that we see in society more than actual religion, more than actual idealism. It's the people that don't want to meet in the middle. Most of us are actually moderates, believe it or not. We believe a little bit of everything. But yet the people that are on the outliers are the ones that give us this bias, like you say. They can be biased in your expectations in the future. It's your first experience flying a commercial jet involved stormy weather turbulence. So something that extremist people do get is that they get a bias on your first experience, and that's something that your book actually sees. So you had this outlier where you go and you get in a car. Let's say you've never driven a car in your life. You get on a car, and the first time you get in your car, you get in an accident. So in your mind, you think, man, cars are bad. You see how extreme you just became on cars? It just happened to be your first experience. But unfortunately, your first experience driving was a bad one. So some people will see that in different things. Avoid normalization. People who assume that their ideas are normal because they have been exposed to them repeatedly are normalizing ideas. That is very, very true. I think in the United States, you as a class do not see this much. You see diversity in people. You kind of do in some aspects. But if you go to another country, wherever is homogeneous, you'll see that there's a normalization, a good normalization that is in Latin America. I'll type it in there. It's the Catholic Church. Okay, the Catholic Church in Latin America is huge. It's everywhere. Okay, when we speak religion in Latin America, we speak the Catholic Church. We don't speak absolutely anything else. So now that these times of the internet have come about, everybody's kind of like, you know what? Why don't we check out other religions? But I will tell you this, it's kind of getting a little bit of a hit. It's funny, you put the word Catholic Church, Chicago comes up a lot, Irish land, Rome, New Orleans, right? Los Angeles. But again, it's all these cultures that have been big on the Catholic Church and nothing's changed it. So that's the normal side of us. So when we speak about anything else but the church, it kind of throws us off. So you don't even know that the Catholic Church is that powerful around the world if you haven't been to these areas, right? And you see this, there's something called creative and critical thinking, figure 3-8. Look through it. It kind of gives you an idea of what critical thinking is, right? And what's in the middle. So creative and critical thinking. So creative's over here, curiosity, invention, imagination. And your critical thinking, evaluation, classify, analysis. But there's a middle ground. There's somewhere where it converges. Description, synthesis, and comparisons. Comparisons are a really good thing to do. People should definitely look into absolutely doing it and seeing about it, because it does really help. Okay, so then now we go into respect your emotions. Yes, you want to consider your emotions, but understand that there's a logic and appropriateness for these decisions that you're trying to make. Avoid emotional thinking. We get back to gut intuition. In this course, no one's saying not to consider your emotions ever. But for this course's purpose, on the language of this course, you want to understand that right now that doesn't help you. When you're making a decision, because you're going to use this decision, you're probably going to use this decision with your critical thinking, because of you're a manager of an asset that you've been entrusted with. You want to use the course. So get back to that, okay, guys? So that was Objective 21, and that was a really good one. And now we go into Objective 22, which is really important to understand, okay? Avoid the slippery slope, because this is all about avoiding deductive reasoning fallacies, okay? What's the slippery slope? You see an event, you see a response to the event, and then you see a fallacy that goes with that response. In this case, it says, a hotel chain that Quest frequently uses for many of its tours is increases rates by 7% next year. And the response that you may have is, we need to fight this price hike. If they raise their rate 7% this year, they'll double them next year. But then there's a fallacy, because you thought that it went up 7% this year. Next year it's going to probably go up 7% again. Be careful with that. Do not make these assumptions so easily, especially in a decision. Be aware of false dilemmas. False dilemmas presents a limited number of options, frequently 2 choices, though more options are available. So if someone were to say, hey, listen, would you rather go to the concert and, I guess, buy a ticket, or would you want to sit on the ground? And maybe there's a whole nother option that's the balcony. So you have to realize, be careful that there's more than one option. There may be more than one option, maybe more than two options. So straighten out circular reasoning. Circular reasoning you see quite a bit actually. And it has to do where it kind of just goes back and forward and an endless loop and it never ends. Like in this case, Quest Italian tours are the most popular. Why? They're better than all the others. Why? Because Quest tours are more popular. It keeps going and going, and you never really get to an answer, right? This is a lot to do with thinking logically to get to a conclusion. But if you're going in circles, you're not getting anywhere. You may have to look another reason why. So the argument that uses circular reasoning has a claim or premise that is a little more than a restatement of a conclusion. This is why another reason, guys, this number 3 is another reason why you never want to define something using a word. Like saying, a parking lot. Oh, that is where you park. That's a very circular reasoning. No, it's probably not the best way, right? Clear up equivocation. Equivocation is actually a Spanish mostly used word for mistake. Equivocación. Okay? But equivocation pretty much means, it's a mistake. It's some kind of error. Using ambiguous or vague words in an argument is known as equivocation. Or you may not be. And it's something vague like fine for public sunbathing. A tourist assumed that it was a fine to openly lie out in the sun. The word fine has more than one meaning, which led to the confusion. So you were wrong about the word fine. Like it's fine for public. So it's go ahead, you could do it. No, it's a fine, like a penalty, right? I'm gonna cut that off. So it's business time, but I want to make sure I get this lecture done. But okay. So yes, so make sure you're not wrong about the definition of it. That's really important. So when you see something, try to ask yourself, this doesn't make any sense. If it doesn't make any sense, it probably is wrong. Okay. So then let's keep going. 23, objective 23. Okay. Always read your chapter introduction. These readings are so easy. I mean, there's really no excuse for you guys not to read. And remember, I test a lot on these terms. I test out of the terms, but I quiz on the videos. Remember that. Test out of the terms, a quiz on the videos. So please look into that. Avoid, and by the way, another thing about, and I'll probably move on and talk more about the lesson, but I want to talk about the midterm. Some people have issues with the questions being 1 minute long. The questions are meant for you to have studied already. This is not an open book test. And it can be, it's just this 1 minute. So you might as well read it. So when you go through these videos and the video quiz, the midterm and test and finals, all in terms. Okay, so avoid hasty generalizations. Inductive reasoning involves formulating conclusions based on limited observations. So you don't have enough data for you to make a conclusion. So you're generalizing. This happens a lot to do with ethnicity, believe it or not. People generalize or objectify is another word. Let's say maybe someone that likes to do yard work and happens to be Hispanic. And you're like, oh, they must be working. Actually, they may just be doing their own yard. Do you see that? You got to be careful with generalizations because it really does come about in ethnicity a lot, believe it or not. And our mind likes to make shortcuts to kind of make sense of something, but I bet you may be wrong on that. You have enough observation, by the way. You can make these shortcuts very effective. But if you do not, then these shortcuts are not going anywhere. Okay, so I know that your mind's trying to create these shortcuts to create to a conclusion. It's just saying to make sure you have the right observation. Separate cause and effect. Arguments often examine multiple events, occurrences, or situations to determine if they're related. So separate it. What is the cause and what's the effect of this cause? Separating those two are going to definitely give you an idea where you're at. In this case, in figure 3-12, event 1, vacation channel launched. Event 2, number of tourists Italy increased. Okay. Look for false causes. Okay. Sometimes it's not even the cause. That's not even the cause that's happening to this effect. It's a fallacy. It suggests because some event, situation, communication precedes another, that is the first event that caused a later one. Okay. So Let me give you an example. Someone may think that the reason their car isn't starting has to do with the battery. So they go and they replace the battery, and then they find out, well, the car's also out of gas. It was never the battery to begin with. That was a false cause. Therefore, it gave you a false result. So consider the composition. The composition errors happen when you assume the qualities of a part of something are also qualities of the whole. So you think that these little parts are also part of the whole, as in it gets bigger. But sometimes it may just be that little section. That little section. It happened a lot actually in the economic crisis of 2008. A lot of people thought, real estate's really bad. And when I got into real estate, they would say, why are you getting into real estate? And I went to Houston. Houston wasn't doing that horrible. The whole country was. Yes, Arizona was foreclosure heaven, and so was Florida, and so was California and Las Vegas. Texas is actually pretty stable through it. It got hit, but just because the whole was getting bad, it didn't mean its parts weren't. So, okay. And that's the composition error. Kind of take a look at this figure, but you'll be fine. Let's see. And then the last one, the very last one, okay? Becoming a critical thinker. This is important, guys. I hope you're stuck with me on this video because I believe that this part is such crucial. People don't know what a word critical thinker is. And the only way I can describe it on my own words is that you as a person, when you're told to do a task, most people go towards the side of their thinking that has to do with task-based. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you just kind of do it easily. You do it automatically. You kind of drive automatically to begin with. Honestly, you're conditioned. You've conditioned yourself to go from one task to the other, and there is no critical thinking there. Critical thinking on the aspect of you having to create something. So hey, you have to kind of create a painting, create a song, create. That's where your critical thinking comes in, and to make it nicer, and it explores that part in you where it's actually deeper. It's not just 1 + 2 + 3. It's following instructions. It's creating, and it's giving you that exercise. This is why actually arts, having the arts, playing an instrument, and creating things do help in business. They absolutely do. So I believe that that's one of the items that right now it's absolutely giving you an edge. Everybody can follow instructions, but you creating the instructions, that gives you the edge. So click on to here. Develop intellectual humility. Intellectual humility is defined as recognizing the limits of your knowledge. Yes, it's okay for you to say, I do not know. In fact, I find that way more respectable that if I talk to you and I ask you, hey, what do you know about oil? I don't know anything about oil. But you ask the persons that are supposed to know about oil and gas, and they're like, I think I need to know every little piece of this. And if I don't know it, I'll make it. We don't all know items. So if you ask me about business, I may tell you, hey, I may not know. And be humble on that. If I don't really know, I don't really know. Be a critic, not a cynic. Critical thinker is not the same thing as being a cynic or a critical person. A cynic is generally negative, scornful, distrusting of other people. Yes. You think people are out to get you. I don't know if anybody's from South Carolina, but I had a history professor that used to tell me that the reason we went to Civil War, we started the Civil War, was because of South Carolina and the culture of cynicism that came from it. And of course, it's not like that now. But he used to say that South Carolina believed that everybody was out to get them. Everybody. As in North Carolina, Georgia, everybody wanted a piece of it, and they had just this culture that had been brought from Europe in the Irish-Scottish era, and they just came in, and all of a sudden, everybody's pins and needles, and guess what? South Carolina just went off, because that was part of their subculture, right? And then, not now, of course, that's his opinion as a historian, but you could see that being a cynic has a totally different idea of being a critic. As a critic, you kind of analyze and you see what's good and what's bad. That word critic has a bad connotation, unfortunately, but it really is helpful. Challenge your assumption and beliefs. I have a belief. I have a belief system about a lot of things. I definitely challenge them. I definitely get other people to challenge them. I definitely talk to me, and I will work through it and build an argument. So that's definitely important for us to do. So to check ourselves, because at the end of the day, we are definitely not the brightest. Even the people that were thought to be the brightest, in this case, Socrates, would tell you, I am not the brightest. So, and there's a kind of little parable about Socrates and the oracle on that. But he would always say, I'm not the brightest. Work through the complex issues and problems. Thomas Edison said that thinking is the hardest job on the planet. I truly believe that. Critical thinking is certainly hard work. However, it's an important part of being a professional. That's actually really important to understand. There's people that get paid to work with their hands, okay, and to build, and that's not any lower than anything else. That's actually a very good thing. That we need those people, and there's people that get paid to think. And when you get paid to think, you are the master of this. You are the master of your work. You create a masterpiece. Okay? It's not easy to think because that thought has to be good enough to perform, to make decisions. This is why you're taking this course. Okay? So think about that. If you're going through your work and you're just going through instructions, ask for some critical thinking jobs and see what you could do about it, because that's what's gonna make you grow. Have confidence in your reasoning ability. Yes, it's really important. I see some people and I could tell who's a critical thinker and who isn't. When I give them a task and I say, hey, you know what, could you make this for me? And I make it very broad. I don't make it specific. I say, hey, I need a post. I need a Facebook post. To put up on my Facebook that's very attractive so I could get many likes. I can see people's eyes kind of like, man, I'll have to think on this one. Yes, that's the power of it. You have to think on that. Because if I told you how to write the post, if I told you what to say on the post, if I told you what to put in there and when to post it, then why wouldn't I do it myself? You see that? The value comes in the thought. So, alrighty guys, that's the class. I hope you had a real good time understanding these concepts, and we will be quizzing on them. And let me know if you have any further questions. Thank you.